Hello! Oh, how do you think? During the past 10 seasons, I've had the privilege of riding the most incredible adventure bikes, whether it's the KTM 1290, Honda Africa Twin, Tenere 700, Triumph Tiger Series, you name it. But in the end, the GS is where I truly feel most at home. For me at least, the GS not only has the best riding comfort, it's also the bike that gives me the most confidence whether I'm traveling long distance or hitting the twisties on a Sunday morning. And today, it's time to check out the latest addition to the GS lineup from BMW. Yes, I'm talking about the R1300GS Adventure. So, we're gonna see if it stacks up to its predecessor and if it can outperform my R1300GS. Which, by the way, isn't going anywhere. You know how much I love that bike. So, join me today as I'm adding another bike to the garage. No time to waste, guys. Let's head in. Another year, another bike. When the R1300GS Adventure was revealed 6 months ago, it was met with mixed feelings. The big topic was its looks, and a lot of people claimed the new Adventure to look like a piece of Lego. And I must admit, I was indeed one of them, but it quickly grew on me and I could see its potential. The new GS Adventure is an absolute tank, built for long-distance touring and ultimate comfort. At its core is a massive 30-liter or 7.9-gallon fuel tank, allowing you to travel much farther between the fuel stops. Compared to its smaller sibling, the GS Adventure stands out with its superior wind protection, and with its larger windshield, wider fuel tank and additional fairing, it offers better protection against wind and weather, keeping fatigue at bay during long rides. One of the standout features is the adaptive height control system. Just like its smaller brother, the GS Adventure automatically lowers itself when riding at slow speeds. This not only adds confidence when handling a fully loaded bike, but also makes mounting and dismounting much easier, especially for shorter riders or when riding two up. This feature is available with both the normal and the low suspension options. So after just over a year, I'm now back to where I started my GS journey. The Adventure model from BMW is truly one of the best and most versatile bikes for long distance touring, especially when you're riding two up. So, if I'm now so happy with my R1300GS, why even bother getting the Adventure model in the first place? Well guys, the answer is pretty straightforward, and the reason is that this bike will be an absolute necessity for marketing related work here at Lone Rider. With so many new model specific products coming up, having one in the garage is essential for testing, showcasing and refining them before they hit the market. And along with videos like this one, I will also be creating detailed installation guides for accessories we have in the works for this bike. Things like racks, crash bars, lights and even more. Speaking of accessories, you might have already noticed a few upgrades I've done to this bike already. So let's take a closer look at what I've added to make it even more capable and ready for what's coming ahead. Even though the original crash bars provide great protection against crashes and tip-overs, we saw room for improvement. Our soon-to-be launched crash bars for the 1300 range offer superior protection due to their heavy-duty design. What makes them unique is that they have replaceable pucks with internal rubber dampeners to help absorb the initial shock. They will also keep the metal bars from getting scratched if you have a tip over or a slide on the street. Our skid plate is a must-have upgrade for the 1300. Made from 4mm aluminum, it delivers superior protection against impacts from below while maintaining an optimal weight to durability ratio, far more robust than BMW's stock version. But what would a 1300 be without some proper luggage? For the R1300GS Adventure, we have not only developed pannier racks, but also a complete luggage rack. Made from stainless steel, they both offer great stability and support for your luggage system. Speaking of which, let's have a sneak peek at another major product release we have lined up for 2025. Introducing yet another game-changing addition to our lineup, the MotoPanniers. Inspired by the design of our insanely popular MotoCase, the MotoPanniers offer the ultimate convenience for on-road travelers, especially for those who frequently ride 2-up. Just like our MotoCase, the MotoPanniers provide a complete, all-in-one luggage solution compatible with both our MotoRacks and the BMW OEM pannier racks for the 850, 1200 and 1250 models. And that's about everything I can share for now regarding these new products. At this moment, they are all about to go into production, and once we are ready to kick off the pre-sale, we'll make sure you're the first to know. Now guys, I am so excited to finally get this bike out on the road. I've spent so much time with my other GS and I've absolutely loved every moment of it. So I'm really curious to see how the Adventure model stacks up. Will it live up to the hype and feel just as good, or maybe even better? I guess there's only one way to find out, and that is to take this bike for a first ride. Let's go! Okay guys, so we're off on yet another new bike. This is gonna be particularly interesting to see how this bike handles. I mean, right off the bat, it's obvious that it's a heavier bike, it's more bulky. It's the Adventure version, has a larger fuel tank, and everything is a little bit bigger on this one compared to the standard GS. But what I wanna find out today is how much of a difference is it to my current standard 1300, and from the memories I have of the 1200 and 1250 GS Adventure, that's what I'm really curious about finding out. So we are gonna go for a little ride. We're gonna first head out here from the industrial area. Gonna head over to some twisty roads. And we're of course gonna do the highway test, because I mean, this bike is literally made for long distance travel, so which means also you're gonna have a fair amount of straights and stuff depending on where you travel, of course. So I really want to know what the highway or high-speed comfort is like compared to the 1300. Spec-wise, this bike is more or less the same as my 1300, with the only difference that I did not take the adaptive cruise control on this one, and that means there's no radar in the front. Even though it looks like it is, there's nothing behind that plastic cap. And the reason behind this is that I've never been a real fan of this adaptive cruise control. I'm more like getting or being in full control of it by myself, paying for something that you more or less have turned off at all times as much as possible. Like in my case, it's just unnecessary. And apart from the adaptive cruise control, the radar also, you can turn on or off the auto braking system, this safety stuff. So I mean, if you're not paying attention, someone in front of you brakes hard, the risk of you ramming into the rear end of the other person in front is less when you have that feature turned on. But on this bike, no radar in the front, so that's the electronically the only difference. Later on, we're gonna do a walk around on the whole bike to take a little bit closer look on all the accessories. I'm also gonna talk about more about what this bike differs in terms of specifications between the standard GS and the Adventure. But yeah, just a few how many kilometers have we ridden so far? 3, 4 maybe, I don't know if even. And it's already, I mean, I also spec this bike with the same tires as I currently have on my other GS, and that knobby tires, so that way it's going to be easier for me to really compare the models in between, because tires, they make a lot of difference. A bike handles completely differently with the other set of tires, so I wanted to be as close as possible. Plus I really like the tires I have on now. These Nobis, Dunlop by the way, they perform more or less as good as street tires on the street, and they are particularly good in rain. I actually have to go to the rain mode and really be aggressive on the throttle in the turns for the traction control to turn on. I mean, that's how good these tires are. Downside, of course, longevity. These tires are if you have a heavy, or you say you have an active right hand, then the tires, they won't last more than around 4,000, 5,000 kilometers something, and then they are more or less flat. So, test ride during rush hour, not optimal. We'll try to pick the roads and streets where hopefully not so many cars are at the moment, but yeah, we'll see. We'll take it as it comes, basically. Just chill first ride. Now also, I mean, it's 5 degrees, it's the middle of January, 5 degrees Celsius, I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit, maybe 40, I don't know. I'm very, very bad with the Fahrenheit scale, to be honest. But that means new tires, I mean, slippery as it is. Cold, fairly dry. We'll see when we come to the forest part if it's wet. So I have to take it carefully. I mean, it was like the last time when I had the first ride with the standard 1300. That was in mid-November, I think, and it was a blue sky, sunny, fairly warm, but still cold enough for the streets to be slippery. Yeah, there's no race today. It's more get a feel for the bike itself and just enjoy the ride, basically. As you can see here, is still not wet but moist, I'd say, and that means that especially also if it's salty, from this wetness, it can be a little bit surprisingly slippery. So yeah, I'll take it easy today. But you can definitely tell already that it's a big difference. You can really feel it's a 1300. A little bit too early to say maybe, but I'm already getting the feelings that the 1300 GS Adventure is like a sporty version of the 1250 GS Adventure. It's less of a sofa. It's slightly more agile, I'd say. I mean, it's basically the 1300 concept, bigger tank, a little bit other type of suspension, more weight to it, but you can definitely feel the characteristics of the 1300. I'd say quite big difference to the 1250 GS Adventure. Last time I rode one was when we did the comparison video between the 1250 GS Adventure and the 1300 GS. And a lot of you wrote in the comments, why would you compare a standard GS and a 1300 to the old model of the 1250 GS Adventure? And the reason why I decided to do that is because at the time, this is almost a year ago now, at the time those two were the only big GS models available, because the Adventure is always 1 year delayed. So that was the reason. I wanted to give you a good overview, because for those of you who are looking for a brand new bike, I wanted to do a comparison between the 1300, which is basically a fully new GS, as well as the well-proven 1250 GS Adventure, which has been around for years. So that was the reason behind it. And yeah, we'll see. I asked the dealer, all the 1250 GS Adventures are completely gone. They're sold out, each and every one. So for me to make a comparison between this bike
And the 1250GS Adventure, I will have to ask someone that I know if I could borrow it for a day or two to shoot the video. But like I said, I can already feel that 1300 is a little bit more sporty. But again, been on the bike for, what, I don't know, 20 minutes, or even 10 minutes. So it's a little bit early to say. So we are basically going up there. But just riding these countryside roads 80 kilometers an hour, I can really already tell a difference wind protection wise between the Adventure and the standard GS. This is I can barely feel the wind, to be honest, and this is the high windscreen, and it's in the low setting, so I can actually, if I raise it up, raise it, and this is the highest position of it. It looks a bit dorky if you ask me, but right now it's super comfy. I can only feel some of the wind on my not even shoulders, on my between my shoulders and my elbows, basically. So wind protection is it is what you expect from a GS Adventure. It's really good. And like I said, now it's even a little bit colder, 4 degrees Celsius. And at the moment I actually have heated grips and heated seat turned on both on level 3, which is the mid level, I'd say. I think I have 1, 2, 3 on both. I also have the heating gloves from Kais. They are not turned on at the moment, not cold enough really. And also for conservative purposes, I brought my hippo hands, these big giant covers that you put on that eliminate all the wind over your hands and fingers. But it's not cold enough for me to use them yet. We'll see, maybe later. Usually I use them when I do a little bit longer rides during the winter, like when we go to the passes, when you have a transportation how do you say, transportation ride, basically, over the highways, when you constantly are at 120 kilometers an hour. That's usually quite nice to have hippo hands mounted on, but for this I'm not really in need of using them at the moment. Speaking of cold weather, if you want to start riding more and not be like scared away from the cold and wet and everything, so check out the video link up here about the winter riding tips I made. That's almost 2 years ago. Time flies. So basically I think it was a budget mid and like full all-in what you can do to protect yourself from the cold while riding and not having to suffer. Usually what I prefer myself when I go winter riding is hippo hands, of course. I either take these gloves, so I have some more heating if needed. I also have a heating vest, and then I have the down jacket, and of course the Gore-Tex suit, and then I'm all good for a whole day. Speaking of shifting, earlier, the quick shifter in this bike, it's as smooth as on the standard 1300. I wouldn't surprise me if it's even everything is the same, the whole engine and gearbox. So it is what you can expect, buttery smooth and direct shifting. I've had, actually, since I've been riding the standard GS for a little bit longer, I've had not any issues with the gearbox, but it's more like sometimes it can actually miss a gear or so, that it either doesn't shift up or it just refuses, but it's quite rare. Opa! Okay, here we have snow on the ground, so careful. I did not expect that one. I did not expect snow and ice be on on the ground right now, and you can see the temperature is sinking. It's 2 degrees, so let's take it carefully here. I'm not gonna go any dynamic riding in these parts when it's this kind of road conditions. I can quickly end up bad, especially considering now that I don't have crash proof panniers, as I have the MotoPanniers, upcoming aluminum panniers that we gonna release in a couple of months. Mounted means I really want to be careful today. And basically, I don't know how much salt they put on this street, but when it's this cold, any wet spot here can be ice. Happened before one of the passes. I mean, that was much colder, -8 when I crashed on Julia Pass. Luckily it was a low speed crash. I wasn't going faster than maybe 20-30 kilometers per hour, but that was enough, and that was black ice. No chance. I was like one moment I was looking at something, the next second I was lying flat on the street. So you can see the view here. It's really nice. Last time when I went here with my standard 1300 was sun, and I also had a fog coming up, but today it's more of a overcast day, wet and cold. Now it's 1 degree, so yeah, let's take it careful. But at least for me, being able to ride like this in January, that's a real privilege. I remember when I was living back home in Sweden, then you had your last riding days roughly at the end of October, maybe early November if you were lucky, until it got too cold, and then it's basically the snow is lying, or it's simply not safe enough to ride until maybe mid-March, late March. That's when the season starts again. But here in Switzerland, a little bit more south, I don't really have an off season. I mean, now it's actually 2 months since I rode last time, and that was a mountain pass ride, several of them, the bigger ones. And then we had the Black Friday was a lot of work to do. We also had 1 or 2 snowfalls where the snow stayed for a couple of days, and it was not really optimal to ride. But again, I mean, mid-January, and you can ride like this. It's really nice. You can really feel when you're coming to a stop also, there's more weight pushing the bike in all directions basically, especially if you start to lean a bit after coming to a standstill. You can really feel that extra weight. Now, of course, now with the aluminum luggage and everything, it's more weight added to the bike, but nonetheless it is a heavier bike than the standard GS for sure. Both on the paper, but you can definitely also feel it in real life. I don't know about you guys, but these kind of surfaces, this new asphalt when they put in, it looks so sketchy. I don't know how it looks on the camera, but my eyes, everything is blue/white, which means it can be black ice basically anywhere. It's still 2 degrees, so it should be okay as long as they put salt here, but yeah, you never know. And like I said, black ice, you have no chance. Once you're riding on it, it's just a tiniest movement in any direction, then the whole bike starts going that way, whether you want it or not. So have to be really careful this time of year when you're out riding, especially when it's close to freezing point. Okay guys, let's have a closer look at the bike itself. Have a little bit walk around and yeah, basically have a look at all the details. So first feature first. I mean, on the standard GS, I have the sport suspension, which means I don't have this this lever that helps to raise the bike when you put it on the center stand. But look at this. This is so nice now. So, and it rises itself, 2 levels, and easy to put it on a center stand with panniers and a top case. So basically, as you can see, this is not a completely standard GS Adventure. First of all, you notice the color. This in the base it's a triple black, but what I did, I painted the tank matte black, and also these side covers. They are usually this aluminum color, but I decided to paint them black. I wanted the whole bike fully blacked out because I knew it's gonna be epic, together with the MotoCase also full black and the MotoPanniers full black. And then I also took the decision to leave these in the original color, and our upcoming crash bars also in this electro plated, I think it's called, stainless steel, because I know that the contrast is going to be on point. Because if you do everything full black, then it's just a black blob kind of, and instead if you have some parts that sticks out, so you get this kind of not color contrast, but the actual contrast between black and, in this case, silver, it looks much better, in my opinion at least. So what is more, we also, as you can see, our pannier racks, as you saw earlier in the video, basically the same style as our current MotoRacks for the 1300 GS. There's going to be a new version for the GS Adventure because the attachment points is completely different. It's a completely different subframe on this bike compared to the standard GS, and that means we have to design new racks. We also have this here, the luggage rack. That is our luggage rack. I know you guys, you want to know everything about our upcoming MotoPanniers. These are still in the prototype phase. I mean, these exact panniers here, these are prototypes. They are not production ready. As you can see, they are based off the design of the MotoCase, more or less, with, I mean, everything. The whole look with the integrated molly panels, which of course gonna be removable if you don't need them. The locking system, everything. And basically we have some refinements to do. For example, you can see this edge here is a little bit sharp. This is gonna be rounded off. It's gonna look way nicer. We're also gonna have patches, of course, so you can attach your patch or a flag or whatever you want to put here with Velcro. Right now it's nothing, because again it's a prototype. We just want to check the overall look and the functionality and everything. So I don't want to say too much about them yet, but it's gonna be, of course, a quick release system, so you can take them on and off very quickly. They will work with the 1200 and 1250 and 850 GS original racks, from what I know right now, but let me confirm that later. Regardless, we're gonna offer MotoRacks for so many bikes. So whether you have an Africa Twin or a Triumph Tiger or whatever it might be, you will be able to fit a set of MotoPanniers on your bike. Moving on to the front, you can see the windshield. This is the high version and the tinted one. Much bigger than on the standard GS, of course. Yeah, together with the wider tank, perfect for wind protection. I'm really happy with it so far. We're gonna see later when we go to the highway to see what the actual wind protection and the turbulence, that's if we're gonna have any wind buffeting somewhere, that's gonna be interesting to see. Yeah, I mean, the auxiliary lights, I don't know about you guys, personally I would have preferred the round lights instead of these oval shaped ones. Would have looked a little bit better, but then again, there's nothing we can do. It is what it is. Headlight more or less the same. As you've seen, we already have a headlight guard for the standard GS, but not yet for the GS Adventure, and this here is the reason why we don't have it yet, because we need to design a new mounting system that is adapted or adjusted to fit the front fender of the GS Adventure. But it's on the way. It will hit the market soon enough, so yeah, as soon as we have something, of course you're gonna see it on our social media channels, and of course also YouTube. So yeah, we're also gonna launch, probably you already seen some sneak, we did some on purpose crashes with the GS trophy a few months ago, where one of our guys kicked the bike over and over again, and that was basically to test the crash bars to see where they fail, if they fail, or if they are too sturdy for something and transfer too much force into the bike itself, which we really want to find that balance between the crash bars absorbing the majority of the force and still protect the bike properly without damaging the bike. So that's the fine-tuned balance you need to find. Unique with our crash bars, again, we're gonna do a pre-sale, so I'm gonna do a completely separate video only for the crash bars, but just to give you a sneak peek, we're gonna have these guys here. That's plastic pads that are replaceable, and inside we have a rubber dampening, which also adds to absorbing the force when you tip over or crash on hard surfaces, in order to protect your bike as good as possible. Lower crash bars and skid plate is going to have the same fit between the GS and the GS Adventure. The only thing that is not going to share is the upper crash bars, and for obvious reasons now, because the upper crash bars are made for the standard GS only, can't fit them to this bike. We are looking at designing upper crash bars for this bike, but we're definitely also going to have a mounting plate here where you can attach accessories such as a bottle holder or a tall bag or a mini bag or a micro bag or whatever you want to put on there. And we're also coming with an undernose mount for the moto lights or the motorcycle lights. And basically they are roughly going to end up somewhere here. Far out enough for if you do a full steering lock and the forks compress so you don't smash the lights into your front wheel or front fender. And also far in enough for them not to stick out, so if you tip over, you're not going to hit your lights the first thing you do. So prototype is almost ready, so looking forward to receiving that one. That is the reason why there are no motor lights on this bike yet, because it's quite cumbersome thing to install, because I assume that you need to lift the tank and everything for the harness for a clean finish. So I mean, you could put the motor lights here, but I decided not to because of many reasons. I'm gonna do an installation video anyway for the lights on the GS Adventure. On this bike I decided to leave the stock muffler, and to be honest, I cannot hear a difference between this one and the Akrapovic that I have on my standard GS. They more or less sound the same, so it's only a matter of looks in my opinion. Moving on to the seat up here, it's what it looks like, at least a wider, a little bit flatter seat, which in my case is going to be a little bit more comfortable. I cannot say anything about the pillion seat. That's going to be up for a passenger to review that one, how well that works compared to the standard GS, but from by looking at it, it looks a little bit more flat, not as round, and a little bit wider, so it should be much more comfortable. So that's basically it. Maybe I forgot something, but then again, this is not the last video I'm gonna do about this bike. There's gonna be a ton more to discuss, especially also product wise. We have so many new products coming up. Again, this is prototype luggage rack, prototype pannier rack, a few adjustments, and they are ready to go into production. So let's continue and take this beast out on the highway to see how it handles high speed. I have no doubt that it will handle that very, very well. It's going to be very comfortable. The question is how comfortable. That's what we're going to find out. Again, I really don't want to go any faster, even though if I could, but it's too risky. The street here is still wet. It's 2 degrees, new tires. I don't even have warm tires because it's really hard to get tires warm in these conditions. So better safe than sorry. I'm gonna have some more action riding during the spring and the summer when the temperature's a bit higher and it's a bit safer to start pushing things. So it's temperature is creeping down again, 1 degree. It's and I don't even have my down jacket on. I only have a fleece, thinner fleece underneath this climb suit. It's not cold, but it's getting there. So what we can do actually, do like this, and we do like this. And now the heating is on in the gloves. Well, it's extra comfy. It's nice when you have the opportunity. I mean, why not? And the heat is almost instant in these gloves. It only takes about 15-20 seconds and then you feel the heat leaping across your whole outside of your hands. It's not inside the palm for obvious reasons, but on the outside, that where the cold is creeping in, because on the inside you have the grip heating, which by the way is equally cumbersome to access due to this burger menu button. I already forgot the name of it. I mean, of course I get a little bit more used to it as I've been riding the standard GS for, what is it now, 14 months. But still, if I could choose, I would definitely go back to having designated buttons for this kind of stuff. I mean, I remember my 1200, I had a button down here. Press once, and then you go up to full grip heating. Press again, you go down to 50%, press again for a third time, and then you turn off. That was really nice. I mean, you didn't even have to look, you just needed to count, depending on what type of heat you wanted. If you wanted full heat or half heat, press once or twice. Going from that over to the 1250 when they moved that button, so you had actually one button to access the heat, to press it, and then you were led into a menu on the TFT, and from there you could choose with the wonder wheel here on the left hand side. You could choose 1 to 5, I think the levels were. And that means 1 more step or 2 more steps to activate the heating. And then from that to the 1300, where you have to make sure that heating is first of all designated to this burger menu. And not only that, then you need to, you have this up and down arrows. And the up arrow, that's the grip heating. And you can only go one direction. So it starts off full heating, number 3, that's the highest level, and then you have number 2 and number 1, and then it's turned off, it's 0. The down arrow is the seat heating. So there's no way like on the 1250 to go up and down, where you had 5 different modes. Now it's just, if you wanted to go on let's say the second level of heating and you accidentally pressed it, then you have to go all the way around again. So from 2 to 1 to 0 to 3 and back to 2. So a little bit more cumbersome. I mean, you get used to it, but it's far from optimal. And to be honest, even though it says it's on, I don't feel that it's on. It's the grips are cold, to be honest. So long press for this one. Going to the menu, you see here, I'm not sure if it's close enough. We have off and number 3 and number 2. Number 3 is really warm, really warm. If you have summer gloves and you go number 3, you borderline burn your palms. So I prefer to stick to number 2. Number 3 is only with like in this case winter gloves, and it's really cold. You're super cold. Then I go number 3. Oh, missed a gear. Maybe it was a little bit too harsh to go into first gear from second. So far what I've noticed with the GS Adventure is that either you have to accelerate quite hard and be very firm, or it might be do like a jump shift. I mean, what I mean with that is like it's not super smooth, that it shifts in a quarter of a second. It's more like the whole bike, the whole suspension just jerks because it takes a little bit longer for everything to shift. That's something I noticed so far riding this bike for, what is it, roughly an hour. There my 1300 works a bit better, but again, it's really early to say. I mean, it can be also the break-in period, for example. So usually after the first service, that's when everything is broken in. You have new oil and everything, and if stuff still acts up, that's when you need to take a closer look at it, most likely. So anyway, let's find some highways here. There's just one up ahead. I mean, it's the middle of the rush hour. What is it? 4:15. Not the most optimal time to do a highway test. So with the windshield in its lowest position, I can feel a lot of wind pressure straight on my head. I can even feel the helmet cooling down, so let's raise it a bit. It's going to be less for you guys to see. I don't know how much it covers. Now it's much better. Yeah, with the windshield in its highest position, it looks very dorky if you ask me, but it's very comfortable. Again, I can only feel the wind on my forearms, basically, or I mean biceps, just below my shoulders. There's no wind buffeting on my head that I can feel, at least. However, even though the windshield is transparent when it's tinted, if you plan to use the windshield on a high position often, you're a little bit shorter rider, I would probably recommend getting the clear one, which is the standard, by the way. You have to, this is an accessory, getting the tinted one. So anyway, guys, I think that's it for today. The sun is about to set, which means it's completely pitch black in 10-15 minutes. Hope you enjoyed the video, and that you got something out of it at least, and that you're of course as excited as I am for all the upcoming products we have, especially for the 1300, but also more universal products like the MotoPanniers and also the ADV bags. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll catch you in the next one. Ride safe.